Welcome back to Just Chattin', and this is the series of videos we do on Thursday and Sunday evenings just for our own amusement. So for all you Audie fans, he's right here. We've had some warm weather, even though it's not sunny today. It's kind of overcast, but he has been delighted. I'm worried because, whenever the weather starts getting nice, he starts thinking it's about time to take a walkabout. And he does that once a year. The first good day of spring, he goes out and he stays out for a while. Last time it was 37 hours. It was dreadful. You were so bad. And he worries me. But for the moment, he's here with us. So I guess we can enjoy it. Yellow, and the yellow's in the jewelry. Can I put you down? No, not yet. Yellow's in the jewelry, and this is for Catherine, for Lex's mom, for everyone who is coping with cancer. We are sending you all our very, very best wishes. So, I'm going to put the cat down while we take a quick break for the intro, and we will be back and get into some of the interesting headlines. So, the headlines. Let's start with the one that's been cropping up all over the place in various forms, and I have some of the articles in the video notes. There are many, many, many more articles out there if you want to track them down, but certainly I've got enough in the video notes to give you some sense of how widespread this story is at this point. And that is that WME, Nutmeg's publicity agency, has dropped her. And it is being alleged that she is too difficult. Now, here's the thing. WME has said that no, they haven't dropped her. But we're not sure. Based on the stories that I've read, we're not sure if that was an official statement released by WME or someone on the WME staff indicated that she hadn't been dropped. But since, in fact, this is a publicity agency, these are people, it's PR. This is their livelihood. So these are people who make their living spin doctoring, putting stories out into the public sphere. And we have no idea what might be motivating any particular story that's been put out there. The problem is, when you start dealing with agencies like WME, what you have to keep in mind is that you are dealing with people who lie and spread false stories professionally. So, is anything they say even remotely trustworthy? Probably not. Now, Nutmeg, meanwhile, is putting out her own, I don't know if you would call them counter stories, but her own press is that she and Netflix are buddy-buddy, that they are just completely on the same page, that they, in response to her request, delayed the release of her show, a reality show, cooking show. I'm not really sure what it is at this point, but that was her request that they responded to when we all know that Netflix announced they were delaying this shortly after they got huge amounts of negative publicity because of the Los Angeles fires, when people were saying, you can't be serious. You're putting out some ritzy la-la cooking show set in Los Angeles when people have lost their homes, people have lost their lives. And Nutmeg, oh gosh, I did it again. Netflix apparently responded to that and said, no, and then Nutmeg came out and said they did it at her request. What you end up with is, in fact, this is one of the headlines for one of the articles, that everyone is absolutely in panic mode. So all of the people who are associated with this show are running around like a passel of chickens with their heads cut off, because they are clearly hoping the show will be a success. Hey, they can dream, right? And none of us are faulting them for their delusions on this score. So much junk makes it onto the airwaves that, who knows, this is probably no worse than much of the other stuff out there. But that is the current party line at this point, that Netflix and Nutmeg. I've started calling her Meghan recently because I'm putting those two together, clearly on a subconscious level, which is doing Netflix no good, and I'm trying to watch out for that. The two of them are clearly trying to sort something positive out of this. I don't blame either one of them. Netflix has to do it because they have money sunk in this. And I think they know this is already slated to be a disaster. It's taking shape the same way the Sock Puppets' wonderful show about Polo did. Everybody had blasted it long before it hit the airwaves, saying that this was ridiculous, it was out of touch, no one would be interested in this. And certainly, I think we've got the same situation with Nutmeg's cooking show, but for different reasons. Obviously, people are interested in cooking shows. There are cooking shows all over the media, and there have been for many, many years, not just going back to Martha Stewart, the queen of the cooking show, but long before then, when everybody had a cooking show. The daytime airwaves were full of talk shows that did cooking segments. And when I talk about this, I'm going back to the 60s, the 70s. And quite frankly, that's just based on my own personal recollections. There are those of you who are older than I am who probably remember this sort of thing from the 50s. So what are we looking at here? We are looking at a show that is not particularly groundbreaking. And in fact, that leads us into the next topic that has been appearing in the press a lot lately, and that is how derivative this show is. Pamela Anderson has a cooking show, and it very much seems to be the same thing as what Nutmeg is doing. We shouldn't be surprised by this. Nutmeg is nothing if not derivative. The woman plagiarizes everybody and everything who has ever crossed her path. So, are we surprised? Pamela Anderson, let's steal a little from her. The Marchioness of Bath. I'm not British. I don't know who she is. I have seen her pictures, but apparently she has a show, which I assume is on in the UK, about cooking and entertaining and lifestyle. She seems to be sort of the British titled version of Martha Stewart. And people are seeing strong similarities between what Nutmeg is putting out for offer and what Pamela Anderson is putting out for offer and what the Marchioness of Bath has already been putting out for offer, and what the rest of us know. Martha Stewart, like I said, I can't say she pioneered it, but she certainly made it wildly popular, and at that point, we're going back 20 years. There are other articles, and I got a boatload of them in the video notes, that are talking about how Nutmeg's recipes even, right down to the recipes she is presenting, the clips being shown of her are old news. Apparently, these little ladybug things have been circulating on the internet, on social media for some time now, and nothing new. Basically, nothing new. My only surprise is that Nutmeg is not showing up on this show day after day, week after week, saying, I roasted a chicken, which, by the way, is a recipe she stole from Corey the Tiello a number of years ago. And apparently there was something of some bad blood between the couple when Corey found out she had taken a recipe that he had created and claimed it for herself. So who knows where this is all going. The show will be airing in a few days, and Nutmeg is posting like a maniac on social media, and this is all in advance of the show. She released a video clip, which she then took down again, showing her dancing, of all things, in her kitchen. Because, yeah, she's known to be such a great dancer. I think any of us who have ever seen any of the clips of Nutmeg dancing know that this is going to be good for a laugh, which is all I can say. But it seems that what she's trying to do, at least if I am interpreting this correctly, is she is trying to show herself to be just plain folks, you know, talking to the little people. It's like, you know, you are dealing with an absolute diva when she thinks that in order to show herself as just regular folks, she needs to get film clips of her talking to the crew on the show. Like, what? To say this is out of touch is just a masterpiece of understatement, given the fact that anybody in any set of circumstances is obviously going to speak politely to the people around them. But for Nutmeg, it's like, well, let's throw this out for publicity, which obviously leads us to conclude that even keeping a civil tongue in her head to the people who are actually producing the show is considered just something extraordinary, something for which she deserves that gold star on her forehead for good behavior. Wow. So I think this is all going to be wildly interesting. Oh, and I almost forgot. In addition to all the other strange little clips floating around from Nutmeg getting down with the real folks, there was one of Nutmeg parading around in a beekeeping suit, which apparently is a favorite hobby of Catherine and Camilla. So I don't even know what to say about this. Nutmeg herself has said, these are all the things I always used to do. Everyone knows this is who I am. A beekeeper? A beekeeper? No, I don't think so. I think what we have now is just Nutmeg rewriting history yet again. We also have some speculation from the media dealing with why she has brought the putative children into this, why they are now being featured on her Instagram, and I gave you my opinion on this last week. She is at the end of the road. This show, if and when, more likely when, it falls flat on its face, is going to be the death knell for her career, if you want to call it that. So what else does she have to merchandise? Well, she has 2 children, or she has access to 2 children. I don't know whose kids they are. But she certainly has a couple of kids with royal titles that she can trot out, take pictures of, because, in fact, she has gone out of her way to make sure that these children never see public attention, which allegedly is being done for the safety and security of the children. But let me ask you this, just throwing this out. If you had a couple of kids that may or may not be your own, that may or may not be the same couple of kids you trotted out last time you got desperate for media attention, wouldn't it be convenient for you to keep them out of the spotlight so nobody could tell the difference? So that when anybody saw them, all they saw was the backs of their little heads, so that no one could say, whoa, sorry, that's not the same kid in this photo. I would say, yeah, odds are pretty likely on that score. Certainly that's what I would do if I were trying to run a con, but hey, that's just me. My need for little children with royal titles is perfectly satisfied by the darling little Cambridge kids. And I know some of you are going to write and say, no, they're the Wales children. No, in my heart, they will always be the Cambridge kids, because that's how I originally got acquainted with them. That's who they were when I first saw them in the media. The adorable little Cambridges, oh, especially little Louis. I got to tell you, that boy is a scamp. He has stolen my heart. So yeah, if I need my little fix of titled children, I know where to go to find them. I don't need to look to California. Thank you very much. Poor, poor Nutmeg. So we've got some more interesting stuff. Now, I have mentioned this on a number of previous videos. It's kind of a litany. Whenever I talk about these rumors that Nutmeg's people release in order to foster greater publicity and greater interest, basically they throw it out to keep her name in the headlights. Yeah, no, I like that. In the headlights. In the headlines is what I meant to say. But I like headlights too. They throw this out to keep her name on people's lips. And that is the rumor that she's going to be going to the Oscars, that she's going to be presenting at the Oscars. My gosh, she was supposedly going to get an Emmy for that dumpster fire miniseries she and the sock puppet did. Maybe she thinks she's going to get an Emmy for the newest version of the dumpster fire. But whenever this happens, it's Meghan Oscars, and we have yet another story about Meghan and the Oscars. And I have listed this in the video notes, not because the article is worth reading. It is not. It is clearly simply a clickbait effort trading on Nutmeg's name to bring more exposure to this particular story. But I thought I would throw it in because, to be fair to Nutmeg, and you know it sticks in my craw to have to do that, but fair is fair. To be fair to Nutmeg, I think it may be that she really doesn't have anything to do with this particular story. I think it may be that the publication knows that connecting her to the Oscars, as has happened so many times in the past, is going to get them clicks. So I think, at least in this case, absolutely not her personal fault. But what can I tell you? It's out there again, and I just showed you the headline. So we do have a couple of additional stories, bizarre ones, and for these, I'm just going to throw them out there. Narinda Kaur, who is apparently a social media influencer, I honestly can't find anything of significance this woman has ever done. They list her as an actress, but she has apparently only briefly appeared in a couple of productions that were made overseas. So I don't know. She can call herself anything she wants to. I remember dealing with a story about her some time ago when she was excruciatingly critical about Catherine's personal appearance, and she got a lot of backlash for that, as well she should have. But she says that the future of the British royal family is wrapped up in bringing Nutmeg and the sock puppet back. I'm throwing that out to you. I know our British friends are going to get a laugh out of this one. So, yes, it was my pleasure to give you a chuckle for the evening. Welcome. So the fact is that nobody takes that seriously. It is basically a joke by some nobody who is, I guess, famous for being famous. As I say, I can't find anything of significance that she has done, and I have no idea why anybody's quoting her. Just throwing it out there. Another one, bizarre, oddball story, comes out that the former name of Nutmeg's lifestyle company, which is now called As Ever, we'll get to that in just a second, American Riviera Orchard, was a white supremacist name. I'm not kidding you. The article is in the video notes. I can't even honestly say I can follow the logic of this. Yes, it was absolutely an elitist name. This is totally in keeping with Nutmeg's whole, I'm the princess of the universe posture that she throws out there. This is the same woman that goes into poverty-stricken school systems wearing more jewelry than any of these kids' families could afford in 10 years. This is who she is. She wants to be perceived as rich and famous and glamorous and, well, who knows, everything, basically. If there is something out there, she wants to claim ownership of it. Why would she not want to associate herself with the French Riviera by naming her company American Riviera Orchard? Yeah, that one died, and probably a good thing too. I never really did like that name. It was hard to say. But the fact is, white supremacist. The article is in the video notes. Take a look at it for yourself. I'm not sure how anyone made that connection. Elitist, I will give them. But white supremacy, no, not quite there with them. And yet another, I don't know, just remarkably peculiar story that came out. And this is about As Ever, is a headline that says they won't be allowed to sell clothing. I thought that was a strange headline. In fact, they have not been licensed to sell anything except like jam and cookies, just food products. And I'm not even sure if the fact that the trademark allows them to do that is going to be sufficient. So let me get back to that in a moment and first explain that they cannot sell clothing because a Chinese company is selling clothing under that name. There you go. Once again, Nutmeg failed to do her homework, slapdashed something together at the last minute, and it's coming back to bite her in the butt. And as I say, last one was a dumpster fire. Looks like this one's going to be as well. So here's the thing about selling food. You can't just go off selling food. Nutmeg cannot just go package food and sell it to anyone she pleases without a lot of regulations. She has to meet certain benchmarks of the area in which the food is being prepared. For starters, cannot be just some kitchen she's rented somewhere in Montecito because it looks cute on camera. No, she's got to have a legitimate food processing setup. It has to be sterile. The ingredients have to be approved and checked. You can't just do this on a whim. Oh, by the way, when I talk about these things, I am just barely scratching the top of this entire ball of bureaucratic twine that has to be unraveled before you can sell food in this country. So, for all I know, she would have to have, like, scientists, doctors, dietitians, who knows? But there is a whole apparatus involved in this, and it is burdensome. So, do I think she's going to be able to sell any of this stuff anytime soon? No. The fact of the matter is she's completely unprepared for this, and we are going to see this whole, as ever, tied up the same way we saw American Riviera Orchard, which, as we all know, soft launched a year ago and still hasn't gone anywhere and probably never will. So, just throwing all of that out, this is the crazy chaos of what's going on in the media. We honestly have everything from Narinda Kaur weighing in on how valuable Nutmeg and the Sock Puppet are to the British royal family. Their future depends on those two. Everything from that right down to American Riviera Orchard being described as a white supremacist title. So I think the takeaway from all of this is it's a free-for-all. It's absolutely a free-for-all. We have no idea if, as ever, has even met the minimum qualifications to sell food, which is regulated in this country. We don't know where any of this is going. We don't know if Netflix is actually going to dump the series, Love Meghan, Love Meghan. I bet that one appeals to her. Love Meghan, whatever it's called, I really pay attention to this. We don't know if Netflix is going to dump it the way they did Polo. Bang, here are the episodes, don't bother me anymore about it. Or if they are, in fact, going to release it onesie-twosie, we'll see. We do know they are somewhat invested in this in a very real financial sense of the word. So it's likely they will try to give it some support. That support won't last if it crashes and burns from the first episode. So we have that. We have Nutmeg's American Riviera Orchard branded as white supremacist. We have some nobody, Narinda Kaur, coming out telling the British people that their monarchy is going down the drain without Nutmeg and the Sock Puppet at the helm. It's just such a strange batch of nonsense that is coming out. Oh yeah, Nutmeg at the Oscars. Forgot about that one. Yeah, because that's never happened no matter how many times that goes out there. So, that is what I have for you. Would I say any of this is even remotely important? No. I do think the idea that WME, that PR firm, dumping Nutmeg, is probably at the very least somewhat entertaining, but Nutmeg always seems to find someone who will take her on as a client, no matter how difficult she is to work with. Why? Because she'll pay them. There you go. All right, that's what I have for you this time out. We are going to take a look at a slideshow on the way out, and because the Cambridge kids are on my mind, that's who we're going to look at. So, I hope to see you next time, and in the meanwhile, have a terrific day.